Today, we're going to be discussing 4 keys to unlocking unlimited growth in your career when it has plateaued. So, for all of you high achievers out there, this is your guide to career transformation without sacrificing salary. So, I speak to many people like you each and every single day. And many people are totally maxed out on their career. They've hit a ceiling, they don't know what to do. And the fact that you're here means that you are already taking that first or next best step to better yourself. And you know that when you better yourself in one area of life, like career, that means that you're also making progress and enhancing everything in each and every area of life outside of that area as well. So, family, relationships, friendships, health, all of those things. So, I know that you're going to learn a lot today that's going to be really valuable for you to take home. Okay. And if you stay until the end today, I have a little surprise for you. You are going to get access to a special bonus. And that bonus is going to be a series of videos that are the very first step in your career transformation process. So, the problem that lots of people have, and that I see a lot, is when people are going through this process, they want to start at like step 4. They don't realize there are a whole another series of steps before that that are important in order to actually make meaningful change that's going to last. There we go. All right. So I want you to imagine that you can get rid of the Sunday scaries forever, that you've never have to feel stuck in your career ever again. And imagine how it would feel if you felt energized rather than drained when you were waking up and crawling out of your bed for work on Monday mornings. Imagine what life would be like if your 9 to 5 was actually filled with that deeper sense of meaning, freedom, and self expression that you know you can have. You just have to find it. So imagine how it would feel if you could be like someone like John. So John came to me when he was feeling really lost because the career path that he was on ended up ending short. He thought it was going to be a forever thing, and there was a series of twist and turn of events, and that's not what happened for him. So he felt lost. It almost seemed to me like an identity shift because you become sometimes so engulfed in what you do, it becomes part of who you are. And then when that's no longer the case, it's almost like, oh my gosh, well, who am I as a professional, as a person, not in this profession and not on this path? So we met tons of times and had a lot of support, and it was tough. And in the end, he ended up accepting a fulfilling job with a pay raise that he absolutely deserved and that he became excited about after he had lost a lot of hope that he couldn't find that thing. So he found it, and that means you can too. And I can tell you, it is very much possible, not just for John, it's possible for me. So it's possible for you. So I too was once stuck in a rut, as many people say. So these photos are when I worked at an education technology startup with my colleagues in these photos, and we traveled and spoke at conferences. That was pre-COVID. And went to all these events, which I loved, and I felt so deeply about the mission and the impact that this startup would have on the world and on people everywhere. And I really thought that it was going to go far. I had so much belief in it. And again, just like with John's path, it didn't end up being that way. So what had happened was I was in that role where I was mainly working for equity because I believed in the product and in what they were doing. I figured, I'm going to work mainly for equity and just a little bit of actual money. So sacrificing salary for those future benefits that I thought were coming. And when that didn't work out because of COVID, I was scrolling on LinkedIn, like I'm sure many of you have, or have done in the past or are doing right now, trying to clickety clack on my keyboard, type in anything that made it seem like there was some hope for me out there. Yet all the roles that I wanted were for things that were mid to senior level. And this was a few years ago, but you can tell by looking at me that I am not senior level. So it didn't quite align. I was having a lot of pressure to find just a regular job. Working at the startup, it's not necessarily a regular job. There's a lot of risk involved with it, right? And so my mom said, Elena, just get a regular job. Why don't you just, take a regular 9 to 5, work for someone else? And I said, I'm not just going to take a job doing something I know I don't want to do as much as what I know I do want to do. And that is to coach and develop people. It's something I've done for fun for many years. And it's what I want to do. And I'm not just going to do something else for what? Because someone else told me that the only ones out there are mid to senior level. No, I believe that I can do it now. I just need to find people that are willing to pay me and people that will hire me for that. Forgive me for something in my eye. So I had that feeling that there was something else better out there. I just had to find what it was. Lots of discouragement, not just from my mom trying to tell me that, but I was doing tons of outreach, putting in tons of time and effort and energy, just like all my clients are telling me they're doing now in this job search market and in the current uh, job search process in this current market. It's very discouraging. And again, I'm sure you've experienced that if you've been in here for a couple of months or even 1 month or a couple of weeks. It may feel like, yeah, you're already getting discouraged because the progress isn't what it used to be even a couple years ago. So I started in October of 2020, and in January of 2021, that's when I finally closed $850 from 3 different sales in one day. And that's when I said, okay, if I can do this, I can keep going. I know this will work because it worked in one day with these three. And let me tell you, from October to January, not making anything, not being successful, or not feeling any success, that was super discouraging because it's like, how much longer do you keep putting in that effort without knowing what's going to happen? Right? When do you decide to change or modify or go about a different path? So you can see in my screenshots here, this one on the right was one of my first times that I promoted my services to a group. And this was my very first check here for 600. So it was part of that 850. And I saved it because that's how special it is to me. And just, you know, again, that evidence that yes, I'm doing something right and I'm going to have more success as long as I keep going. So a bit more about me. My name is Elena Pastori. Don't think I said that yet. I'm a leadership and career coach. And over the years, I've been doing this formally for 4 years and informally for fun for about 8 years now. And so, in a formal setting, I've facilitated transformational career experiences for over 400 people. So, what that means is getting them from being stuck, lacking clarity, not sure what they're qualified for, don't know what they're going to do, into a space of empowerment and confidence and clarity to make the next choice to move forward. I've written and reviewed over 1,000 resumes, maybe even close to 1,500 now, worked with over 300 clients from organizations to live and work in their strengths, which is specifically their Clifton strengths, which is one of my favorites. And I've gotten lovely reviews from over 99% of my 180 plus people that chose to leave a review. So can't win them all. So it's pretty good, right? Yes, I see someone here in the chat. Can the recording be sent to this other email? Yes, absolutely. I will be sure to send it to your other email. I'll make a note for that right now. Okay. All right. All right. And bit about where I'm from. So I'm from the great and mighty state of Rhode Island, and I went to the University of Florida. Go Gators! Moved down here for that, and then moved to St. Petersburg, which is the Sunshine City in the Sunshine State of Florida. So most people know Florida is Sunshine State, and St. Petersburg is Sunshine City. We have I don't know if it's the world or the nationwide record for most consecutive days of sunshine. It's like 760 days or something like that. Pretty cool. Clifton Strengths, like I said, ICF coach. And these two pictures on the right here were part of my big career breakthrough that I had not in the beginning, but as I progressed in my career to where I am now. And you can see this first picture here is a video or pause screenshot of video of me doing a board break in one of my psychology classes where they teach you how powerful the mind is and show you, and maybe you've done this, that in order to do a board break, it's not about the physical strength, it's about the mental strength. And that really is the guiding and foundational piece of everything to progress in your career. It's all about getting your mindset right. And I don't mean just thinking positive, I mean getting your mindset in alignment with your goals. And there are a lot of layers to that, which we'll go into. And you can see me with the board break at the end. Okay. So, like I said, you may be thinking, well, Elena, maybe it worked for you for this, or maybe it worked with your clients for this reason. So people may say, oh, I'm too old, I'm too young. I'm telling you, this will work regardless of your age, regardless of the number of years in your industry or field, regardless of your education level, regardless of your experience or lack thereof, regardless of if you feel like you're pigeonholed in a role that's so niche, regardless of any of those things, this will work for you. And Lourdes is a really great example of this. She had a slew of different things that she had done in her career, different industries, different types of roles. She really had a lot of different experiences that she could shape to guide her future. So she was feeling really lost, directionless, and insecure. She had a lot of really huge business connections and honestly big names that shocked people that I had heard of. I was like, oh my God, you know them? And still coming to me for help because it's so tough, this process. And again, if you've been in it, you know. And so Lord said that this process helped to change her mindset and having her career be confined to a little box that she had put herself in. So in the end, she was able to get the confidence to keep her eye on positions that she deserves, negotiating right, and things that she would have previously not given herself the chance to do. So, as long as you are willing to put in the work and you want to have change, this will work for you, I promise. Okay, more examples. It worked for Eric as well. He was my very first client a couple years ago, and he was in a declining sector and received 2 job interviews and also increased his salary by 60%. This is what you can do when you put clear intention, confidence, clarity, and strategy behind a goal. And with John, he was in a position that was really not aligned with his interests and was not fulfilled and not feeling like he was making the impact he wanted. So he was able to accept a role he was able to accept the very exact role that we worked on for him. So we worked on one very specific position that he wanted at a specific organization, consulting, and he accepted an offer that he was really excited about. I will say, all this stuff sounds amazing, and it absolutely is, because this is so important to have a happy life. You have to be satisfied in the main areas, your career being the one that you spend so much time every day. So these results are amazing, and they take time and work. They do. If they didn't, then everybody would be happy and loving their life. Then that's just not the case, because that's not what people do. So they don't happen overnight. And they happen when you, like me, start reflecting on what's actually really important to you. So, what I hear a lot of times is people say, Elena, I want to do this, or I'd like a career in that. And when I ask them why, they have a shitty answer. Well, because it makes the most sense. Because that's what I've done for 10 or 20 years. Because that's what I feel the most qualified for. Well, if you have a reason that's rooted in, I don't want to say an excuse, but in the past, out of necessity, out of feeling like it's one of the only things you can do, not what you want to do, you're going to stay stuck. So you have to be ready to be honest with yourself and say, what's really important to me? And not bullshit yourself, but genuinely answer the question and give yourself the permission to say it and to own it. Because when you do, you can actually start to make progress to be happy. And then you have to determine, what is that worth to you? Some people, it's not worth it to do all of this deep work. And hey, that's okay. I'm not here to lecture you and tell you to do it, although I think you should. You have to decide for yourself if that effort is going to be worth it. And now I love my work. I love waking up every day and being able to not only be the creator, but do what I really enjoy doing each day. And again, one of the biggest things clients tell me is that they want to see the impact of their work. And so if you're ready to live your life that you love and see the impact, then you are in the right place. So, and speaking of things being worth your time, is this training worth your time? Well, if you understand those disclaimers and you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty, then the answer is absolutely yes. This is worth your time. So, we're going to talk about the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things, and why the old way is no longer good. So, one of my favorite quotes here from Albert Einstein, there's another quote from him too that I love that I may share later. We can't solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So, a lot of times people will go about this process with the same mindset or the same strategy or the same thought process when they got into a job or career path that they don't like. And guess what? More of the same is going to get you more of the same. It may just have a little lipstick or have a little bow on top, like a little more money or a little more flexibility or a nicer title. Yet more of the same is just going to give you more of the same. And it's not what you want. It's going to keep you stuck in a perpetual cycle that just looks a little bit different. So, the old method is doing the traditional and basic job search prep. So, like I said, clickety clacking on LinkedIn, just typing in some stuff, being your first step, mindlessly scrolling, and clicking easy apply 100 times a day. That is the old basic method that used to work even maybe like 5 years ago was fine. It just is not yielding the same results for the last like year. Other conventional approaches like that, right? Cold applying, going back to school. This is a big one. And this one's really funny to me because the logic behind this is, okay, let me spend, whether it's a certification or a graduate degree, let's say, multiple thousands of dollars to go back to school for something that I don't know if I'm going to like, right? I talk to people that do this and then they're like, yeah, and now I don't like it. And I spent all this money, 20 grand, 30 grand to get another degree and something that you don't even want to do. And it doesn't guarantee you a job. People think like this is going to solve their problem. You think you're going to automatically get a job offer when you graduate? No. No, everybody would do that if that was the case. It doesn't change anything other than making you more qualified and sure bumping you up from required qualifications to preferred qualifications, right? A lot of times we may see a master's degree as a preferred qualification. Yet going back to school, it just doesn't guarantee anything. Cold applying, I mentioned that. Ignoring the psychological components. So this is really the biggest piece. So questioning yourself as to why you're choosing your next step and whether it's out of the possibility of something great or the necessity and need that you feel it's your only option, a limited way, that then affects every future choice. So a lot of people just don't even realize this is part of it, but this is really like the first three steps. And the clickety clacking on LinkedIn is like the fourth step. So a lot of people really underestimate this piece. Same problems, new environment, like I said on the previous slide with the quote, and taking action to surface level, which also kind of goes back to this traditional and conventional piece. Last year, padding resume with keywords aimlessly. So people will tell me all the time, but Elena, I update my LinkedIn for every single job post. I go in, I look at what they ask, and I add it to my resume. And I'm like, it's sad that people think that moves the needle, because in all of the ways that you could spend your time, that's just not a useful one. It's not going to move the needle in the way that you think it is. You're not going to score that much higher on the ATS for it. And when so many people are applying to jobs nowadays, one job posting having so many applicants, it's just not a good use of your time. So what to do instead? That is where the new method comes in, which is the career matchmaker method. And the career matchmaker method addresses the fact that the game is the same. That rhymes. I didn't realize that. You just need to be a better player. So people will say, but Elena, it's just a game. You know, this person applied for this role and they're way less qualified than me and they get it. It's just not fair. If the world was objective and we had one way to measure everything, then yeah, it wouldn't be a game. But that's not how life is. The job search process is all communication. Your resume is communication, interviewing is communication, outreach is communication, explaining why you're good for the job is communication. Communication is an art. There's a science to it, but you can't objectify communication. So, unfortunately, yes, this process isn't about how objectively good you are for the job. It's about how well you can communicate how good you are for the job. So, rather than hating the game, you don't have to hate the players because you're going to be the player that everyone wants to be. You just learn how to be a better player. And that includes stop showing up the same way that you always have. Again, the same mindset, like that slide, doing the same things and expecting the same result, using the same logic to create the problem to solve it. If you don't feel confident in yourself or you feel like you're lacking, that's going to show. So you need to level up how you're presenting yourself if you want to come across as someone, that is deserving of that next job. Stop entertaining things you're not a match for. I so often have clients that will apply for jobs that they're overqualified for, thinking they'll be a shoo-in, when it's the opposite. Companies don't want to hire people that are overqualified because they're going to want more money or they're going to get promoted fast. So they're going to be a higher turnover. So the things that you're doing that you may think may be helping you are actually not. So if you're not a match, don't apply because you know it. You're just lying to yourself a lot of the time. And do the work to elevate opportunities available to you. So, another thing that clients frequently say to me is after learning this stuff, they apply for jobs they previously would have disqualified themselves for before even giving themselves a chance. Because when you shift your mindset and your beliefs about what you feel you are worthy of, you're qualified for, all of a sudden you gain a lot more confidence and you start going for things you wouldn't have. You're going for the role that's $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 more salary. You're going for the role that is that senior director VP level, right? Because you can't get the job if you don't apply for it. If you look at the post and you're too scared, no. So when you give permission to yourself to have the confidence to elevate opportunities available to you, that's how you're going to unlock the next step. But it starts with believing you can be a candidate that's considered and that other competition will push you to the curb. If you believe that, then no, you won't get anywhere. Again, the fact that you're here means that you want to elevate in that way. So, just to kind of bottom line it for you, the one big key to success is that you can and you will find authentic career fulfillment and unleash your potential by combining strategic planning with deep discovery work. So, again, most people just go for strategic planning and they skip the self discovery. When the self discovery informs the strategic planning, the strategic plan is just kind of an empty plan without the self discovery supporting it. All right. So, in summary, show up differently, more confidently, have some deep internal shifts, focus on external skill building. So, in some cases, this may be leveling up in some ways. And in many cases, it'll just be learning how to recommunicate your skills. Holistic alignment with mind, strategy, and goals, like I mentioned, building your presence for longevity. So, not just for this next step, but for the long term, right? So, think of how this is going to set you up for the next 5, 10, 20 years. I was speaking with someone today, and he was telling me, he's like, Elena, I want to be a sales manager in my next role. First, he said sales, and he had said manager the first time we spoke. And I said, which one is it? And he said, manager. And I said, okay, so why are you not applying now? And he said, well, I don't think I'm qualified. I said, okay, so what's your plan? And he said, well, I'm going to apply for lateral roles and then try to get promoted eventually to that. And I said, so how does that put you in a different position than just going for those manager roles now? And he looked at me and he was like, I guess it doesn't make it any different. And I said, exactly. Right? Like we think trying to go about it a roundabout way or an easier way or a way that we're more qualified for today will help us to get to our goal down the road more easily, when that's usually not the case. It's going to be hard. So you might as well do it now than put it off. And again, keep yourself on that hamster wheel. So think about what you want in the long run. And the biggest piece here, sometimes people will take this approach piecemeal. So they'll work on this here, they'll work on their resume there, they'll work on their interview there. But then it can just get choppy and you start to miss pieces and then you start to have gaps. And it's just much easier and makes more sense to have a nice flow where you can take everything together and really build and get that confidence. There will be some challenges, and these may be some challenges you're already working on. So, the first challenge is that negative self talk that I've kind of mentioned a bit that may tell you someone else just got lucky, right? They're not as old as me, or they're not as young as me, or they're not as pigeonholed as me, or it's just trial and error. They probably just applied to enough and got lucky. I'm too far along in my career, or that worked for them because they're this, that, and the other, but it won't work for me because this, that, and the other. Right? That's all just your mind trying to trick you and keep you safe because the unknown is scary, right? You think about the fight or flight, the triggers of fear, they can be triggered by anything. And the thought of going after something unknown is fearful because it's uncertain. So you have to tell yourself that these are just your brain's way of trying to keep you safe. Your brain is built for safety, not success. I should say survival. Your brain is built for survival, not success. And I face this too sometimes, having the feeling of like, oh my gosh, am I about to make a really shitty decision? And then you realize, no, I need to be more intellectual about it because it's just my brain trying to tell me not to do it. Okay. Number two, pressures from family, society, and colleagues about how it might look. So I had a client that I'm working with right now, and she was like, um, yeah, I have had lots of family and friends. She's been laid off for a year. Asked me, so Sally, like, where's your job? Like, I don't have a job. And she said, I used to get really defensive and self-conscious about why I don't have a job. And, after working on it, she doesn't feel that way anymore. But when you feel like you should be at a certain point and you're not, yeah, I mean, you feel like you're being judged. And that, again, may cause you to get into a career path that you can more easily get into because it'll be faster when really it's not a good long-term choice. Third challenge, you feel like your skill set is too niche. Like I said, you feel pigeonholed. You feel like um SpongeBob. You don't know which direction to go into. You feel like there's really only limited options. Really, what you need to do is just understand how to reframe to a different context. So, right now, your experience may be niche, right? Like the context that you're working in may be niche, but your skills themselves can be reapplied to a new context and therefore taken out of the context in which they're niche. So all it is just, again, a way to communicate and re-articulate those things. Number 4, I don't want to burn a bridge if this new thing doesn't want to work out and I want to go back to my old job or company, which makes me laugh for a few reasons because it's like, A, if you know this really isn't a good fit, why would you want to go back? But also B, the experience you have doesn't just dissolve and go away. It's always funny to me that people think like choosing to pursue something new just means their entire history is gone. And I'm like, no, you can still go back and do that thing. Like you still have those experiences, you still have that job history, you still have those skill sets. You can go back anytime. Like it doesn't just disappear. All you do is just pull it back to your resume or pull it back to your LinkedIn. You're in no different of a place than you are now. So this one is always funny to me. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. And that image was just very fitting, obviously. All right. So even after just a short 30 minutes, and we're about 30 minutes in here, so hopefully you're feeling this, people will tell me that they have lots of hope and confidence. So, Elaine, you gave me hope and you gave me confidence. And in this job market, those are two of the biggest things that people can ask for. Because if you have no hope and if you have no confidence, I can give you the best roadmap or game plan there is, and you wouldn't do it because you wouldn't believe it worked. So, the precursor to any change in life is you have to believe it's possible. You have to have that hope. And then you have to have the level of confidence in yourself to take action. So, at this point, I hope you can see in the most loving way that you are not that special. You're not. Because guess what? If you could see how all those other people and all those other situations can get this change, then so can you. You're not exempt from the laws of human nature, right? I mean, you're special in the sense that you have a skill set that's great, that companies, I'm sure, would be super grateful to have you at, right? And you have a really unique impact you can make on a company, in a role, in an organization, in a department, on a team as a leader. Yet you're not exempt from the reasons that you're telling yourself that you can't do this. If it worked for all of these people that look like you, that have similar challenges, pain points, negative self talk, mental roadblocks, sabotaging patterns, whatever it is, you can too. If you're willing to do the work, I can't give you a magic pill. So if you want that, then I can't do anything. So, as you move forward, some challenges you may face beyond the ones that I said. So, this process is highly psychological. Like I said, a lot of people really underestimate that. And one of the hardest things is actually taking action and staying focused. A lot of times, people, in a world of instant gratification, we want to know right away, is this working or not? And when we don't see progress, it's hard for us to know if what we're doing are the right things. Like I said with me, I started in October of 2020, and it wasn't until January until I made $1. I had to take action and stay focused. In this job market, I have some clients that are applying to 300 jobs and not getting an offer. You think if you stop, you're going to get an offer? No, maybe you need to modify it, but you need to take action and stay focused. And you also need to know when to re execute, audit, or redirect your strategy. And many people have questions as they try to implement this on their own because they try to seek advice from people that are not qualified to give it and people that have a lot of bias, like your family, your friends, your significant other, people in your life, right? So that's what the future may hold for you. And there's two ways to move forward, like this guy, super frustrated. So the hard way, which is on your own, you can apply this newly learned knowledge independently, and you can make some trial and error. Again, anything new and anything different does take that time to figure out. You may spend a lot of time on this, and time is money. And for some of you that may be urgently looking to make some change and some progress, that may be really important to you. And you may make a lot of the mistakes that I and your fellow peers already made when you're doing this in a silo on your own. And it is a bit slower. So, the other way to move forward is in community and with accountability. So, working with a guide and an expert like me to do it with you. So, not only do you have that accountability, you also have that emotional support. And I had someone client recently that accepted her dream job say how much that emotional support really meant. She's a PhD, she graduated a few years ago, and she was looking for, again, like when you're a PhD, do a lot of research, a lot of specialized stuff that you have a very specific gift that you want to give to and share with the world. And the emotional support, she said, was one of the most important pieces for her. Eliminating the guesswork because you'll have people that have been where you want to go. And a customizable roadmap for success that will help you to know, again, when and where to modify. And that's the Career Matchmaker Method, a program that you can join. I mentioned a bit earlier, all of the things. This is the new method that'll actually get you the results that you want and make your progress or make your hard work that you're putting in meaningful and really having that progress. So I will say this isn't for everyone. Well, so who is it not for? Like I mentioned a few moments ago, I think I said black pill a few moments ago. I don't know why. Not for people who want a magic pill. So if you just want me to tell you what to do or what to say or what to clickety clack on LinkedIn, that's not it. It may make you feel better for a little while. It may give you some prospects. It's not going to solve your long-term problem. And people that just want an answer, again, you may feel a little bit better or feel a little progress, but anyone telling you how to live your life and your career, it's not going to work for longevity. You're just going to end up in the same place, again, just with a bow on it or with some lipstick looking a little nicer. This is for people who want to be those creators rather than victims of their lives. Be really in charge and be influential over how you spend most of your day. And people that want to put in the work and that recognize that's what's necessary to have a fulfilling career and a fulfilling life. So this will work for you if you want that real change and not blaming external factors. So of course, external factors play a role. They absolutely do. And at the end of the day, you can be a millionaire even in a shitty economy, right? So what does that say? You are more powerful than the external factors. If you don't have any more time to lose, you're sick and tired of the effort you've put in, you're ready to see those results, you feel maxed out on growth, you're not sure what you're qualified for or not qualified for and how to communicate that, and you're ready to find total alignment with your skills, interests, values, again, to see the impact in a meaningful way. And if you have not gotten results doing those unconventional or old method approaches, if this is you, then this will work for you. So, what is specifically included? There's 5 overarching steps with sub steps in each one. So, step 1 is the psychology of professional growth. And that, again, the psychology and the background here on doing that deep self audit of yourself and understanding what you really want from a place of genuine authenticity, because that is what will allow you to move forward and have that long-term 5, 10, 15, 20-year legacy that you are proud of and that you can stick with. Then the next step is understanding the value that you add to an organization and what your values are. So, again, if you want to find something that has that alignment, holistic alignment with interest, skill set, and impact, you need to understand how to communicate your value and know what your values are. So there's a great process for that. And then, of course, knowing how to do it on your resume and mention in the first one on your LinkedIn so that it's professionally articulated for those recruiters. Step 3, getting more specifically into communication. So taking all of that from 1 and 2, putting it into an interview, how to communicate your boundaries and expectations, again, to continue to support that transformation and make sure it really is the fit you're looking for. Step 4 on the job goals, we're going to get into very, very vivid and specific goal setting. So these SMART goals are not regular SMART goals like you may have heard. They're cool SMART goals. So they are new and improved and have a much larger impact on manifesting, if you've heard that term recently. There is an art and science to it. That future and making it really real for you. In step 5, negotiations. So, how to assess if something really is for you or is not for you? Because we can get those rose colored glasses when a shiny object comes our way, right? Isn't that right? Can't we? And again, I know that you're here because you don't just want that shiny object. The fact that you're here means you want something that's meaningful and that's lasting and fulfilling. And so that's why this final piece here is so pivotal to really seal the deal in a way that is going to work for you.